12 of the most common Piggy build mode mistakes you can be making in your map right now. The first mistake is using lasers to kill people. People can stand on top of the lasers right up here. I can be perfectly safe up here. Okay, Ernie, well, why don't you just put the lasers like this? Stand in between the lasers like this. They can stay perfectly safe. You're going to instead use a power death block. Take the power death block and make it the exact size of your room. If your room isn't exactly square, you can always just take the power death block and scale it through the walls. Or if you can't scale it because there's an important room in here, you can always just add another power death block. Just link up your kill lever. Maybe you want to set it to only kill piggies. And now when players go into this room, well, when you pull that lever, there's no escape. The next mistake is placing around multiple sound blocks in their map to act as their music. Instead, you're going to go ahead and delete all of these, place down an audio player, and then place down an audio emitter. Go into the red player settings and go ahead and insert your sound ID. Then connect the player to the emitter, and finally in the emitter settings, go ahead and just check this box on. Now, when the audio player is powered, it's going to play music in your map for everybody, no matter where they are. The next common mistake is not giving the Piggy infinite energy. In games like Piggy says, even though you have rules set up, people can just simply run away. All you have to do is throw down a touch trigger on top of the Piggy spawn, set it to these settings, and then connect this to a looper, set the looper to these settings, and then finally connect the looper to the energy block and set it to these settings. Now if you look in the left side of my screen, I have fully infinite energy at all times. Now you can fully assert your dominance as Piggy by setting up these T-posing snowmen. Another common mistake is using dialogue blocks instead of info blocks. The best time to use a dialogue block is for character interactions, such as this one here. You can see it shows the name of the character and it shows what they're saying. But a common mistake people make is they'll use it for game announcements, and you don't want those to blend in because they'll think, oh, it's just some character talking, who cares? And you're instead going to use an info block. Don't worry, I know these look very similar, but you can actually go in the menu down here and you can find the info block right here and set the message that you want to announce to players. And now, thanks to this simple change, important game messages can now be at the very top of your screen for everybody to see. The next mistake I see people making is using the only linkable event that is completely useless, and that is the OR gate. The link hub has the capacity to link up to 1,000 different blocks and items, but the OR gate, which again works the exact same way as the link hub, can only link up to 50 different things. The next common mistake is using the trader gun in their map instead of the regular gun. But this is a bad idea because people can just simply take the trader gun, look at their fellow teammates, and Patrick, that's a gun.
Yes.
Kaboom! Yeah, the problem is friendly fire. The trader gun is great if you're using it to fight off other players. Other than that, these two guns work the exact same way. You're gonna want to go for the regular gun because friendly fire isn't enabled. The next common mistake is Z fighting. Oftentimes, players will have an area of their map where there's just a lot of flickering going on. Take a computer monitor, face it upside down, place the block you want on top of that monitor, delete the monitor, and now when you go and place it down inside of your map, you'll be able to notice that the flickering is now gone. Now, if this kind of issue is happening in your walls, you're instead going to want to face your computer monitor sideways. And of course, the same method's going to apply if you're placing stuff upside down too. Now, if you have decorations that are having Z fighting issues just like this, but if you're placing multiple decorations down, you're going to want to continue the monitor upscaling. So now we did this by one. Now our next decoration is going to be 2 monitors. The next mistake is building Minecraft style, placing blocks one by one like this. First of all, you can see where the textures cut off. It adds more data to your map slot. They'll place them down multiple times, and then they'll sit there and have to place down multiple links too. Whenever people place down rain or snow inside their maps, people will place them and scale them in these big, long, narrow, individual pillars. All you have to do is use the scale tool. Look at this. Now the textures are perfectly uniform and not cut off. And this entire wall counts as one singular block. Same goes for invisible blocks and linked events. For these snow decorations and the rain ones, by scaling it, you spread the snow evenly everywhere. Plus, when you have a block and it's scaled and you need to get rid of it, it's much easier to get rid of. The next mistake a lot of people make in their maps is having basic fog. Disgusting! Unless you have a very snowy map or a very atmospheric map, having default fog in your map is just super ugly. Fix this by going into your game settings, turning on custom fog and taking this slider and moving it to the very top. Now, when you start up your game, your fog will be completely gone. Look how crystal clear it is. The next mistake is using levers instead of buttons. Levers are supposed to be meant to keep things held open, but people will incorrectly use levers for stuff like teleporting. Levers are very slow to start up, so unlike a button that makes things happen instantly, it takes about a second before the lever can activate something. So when it comes to keeping things held open or toggled, go ahead and use the levers. But when it comes to quick activations, such as teleporting, spawning in NPCs, displaying a message, stuff like that, use buttons. If you're gonna have a lot of people teleporting somewhere at once, using one singular button, set the button cooldown to 0. The next common mistake is using patrol points in a dotted line fashion. Most people think that when you use patrol points, you have to put them in a straight line, but this is actually not how they work at all. When the game starts up, you're gonna notice that this NPC, instead of going down a straight path, they're going to pick one of these patrol points by random, and they're gonna walk to it. It could be like this one right here, and then they're going to pick another random one. It could be this one, and then they'll go over here, and so on. You'll see that instead of starting here, even if we did place them over there too, they're going to immediately go over to this patrol point. Then they're going to go over to a completely other random one. Plus, having so many patrol points in your map like this is just going to take up so much data. Instead, you're going to only place your patrol points in the areas where you want the NPC to go to. Think of them as little pit stops. See, we got these 4 marked circles here, and these are going to be the destinations where the NPC goes to. But if you still do want your NPC to go in a straight line in this exact order, first you're going to create a straight path barrier. You can see that we got a straight path here, and these invisible barriers are keeping the NPC guided into one path. Now you're going to create a doorway behind each and every patrol point except for the very first one and the very last one. These are very simple doorways, they're just made out of invisible blocks. Then place a touch trigger, give it these settings, connect the touch trigger to a NOT gate, and then finally connect the NOT gate to the invisible barrier. Simply repeat this step for the other doorways, and finally make sure each touch trigger is going through the invisible barrier doorway. And it's really that simple. Now the NPC has only one patrol point of a choice to go to. When this barrier opens up, he has another choice to go to. Now the NPC only has one option that he can go to, this patrol point. But when he opens this door, the next available patrol point is active, and that's how it makes it to where it makes the NPC focus on only going to the available patrol points. And finally, a very common mistake I see people make is having unsafe owner-only rooms. I cannot tell you how easy it is for me to get inside of owner-only rooms and have access to all of these juicy items. This guide's going to show you how to make a perfect owner-only room that protects against hackers who can even no-clip through walls. Tell me some other mistakes you see people commonly make in the comments. I cover the latest Piggy updates and tech and build mode, so if you want more stuff like this in your feed, subscribe.